Yeah! We've done it! We're on the last one. The letter Z. Oofa. Oofa, this is taking me such a... What did I give Yoga Hosers middle? I think it was middle of the road. So I'll give it a middle. And then write it down last night. This whole list of all the stuff. That's all the movies. And all the ratings. Because I was planning on doing a ranking, but I don't know. Maybe I will. I really don't know if I'll be able to. That's the problem. But anyway, let's talk about our letter Z. Zack and Miri make a porno. But I'm just gonna put Zack and Miri because I'm not gonna. So, going in. To this movie. Sorry. To try to talk about this movie. When it comes to the adult film side of this movie, I'm going to be very vague. Like, I'm not even sure I can tell you. I didn't memorize any of the names that they put out. But I don't think I can even tell you. The only name I think I can tell you is Star Wars, because that's an obvious one that's been thrown out there for years as a sort of jokey name for an adult film. But I don't even think I can tell you the name of the film they end up making. Which, I'll just say, it's suck my... They use cappuccino, but they replace cap with another word that starts with C that's very adult. We'll just say that. But yeah, so right away, starting this film, I got a little confused. Because it says, a View Askew production. And I went, wait, this isn't in a View Askew universe, is it? Because no character from this film shows up, or from, no character crosses over. There's no, like any of the characters here. And you have Jeff Anderson and Jay Mewes, who play different characters in this film. Jay Mewes, he plays Lester, and Jeff Anderson plays the director guy. I don't remember his name, sorry. And you have the great Craig Robinson playing Delaney in this, and he's really good. And, of course, Jennifer Swalback, Kevin Smith's wife, she's in this. Of course she is. But I just don't know. Upon looking it up, though, apparently Justin Law's character, Saint Randy, is it Randy Saint Randy or something Saint Randy, or I don't remember his first name, but Saint Randy, apparently he shows up in Jane and Silent Bob Reboot as a lawyer. I did not realize that was the same character, to be honest. As I should have. Apparently, according to Kevin Smith, this is set in the View Askew universe, which, again, like I said with Yoga Hosers, he does have this thing of casting multiple actors. Jeff Anderson himself has been another character, at least, the gun shop owner in Dogma, right? Dogma. So, yeah, and it's just weird that you would have Jay Mewes in a View Askew universe film and him not play Jay. I don't know. It's just really weird. That's the part that's iffy for me, is that if this is a View Askew universe, why isn't he Jay? I get he probably wanted this film to stand on its own, so he just kind of put things in there. And it does feel like a View Askew universe film, though, because, the View Askew production, the DP is Dave Klein, who did most, if not all, of those movies. So Kevin Smith directed it, of course. And even the dialogue is more akin to the universe than Yoga Hosers was. So yeah. So the story here is that Zack and Miri are two lifelong friends who grew up together, and they live in an apartment together, but they have a hard time paying rent. And so they decide to, after a run-in with a gay adult film star, they decide they're going to make their own adult film. And, yeah, so... Where do I start? So for the most part, I think the comedy in this, because I like Seth Rogen, I love Craig Robinson. They got good actors in this. Jeff Anderson is great. Jay Muse is Jay Muse. So I think most of the comedy works. For the most part. There are two instances I think it just goes too much over the top. There's one joke specifically at the beginning of this that I think would have worked had they cut it off at a certain point. It's a part where they get in the car and she goes to go to work, which she's driving, and she gets out and why isn't he driving? The only thing I can think of is like if he's going. So here's the thing: if they're dropping her off at work, then why doesn't he drive and then go and just get out of the car? The only thing I can think of is because they had to do this joke. So she has to be the one driving, because we don't see this kind of thing ever again in the film, I don't think. But so she's driving, she gets in and she has this hand warmer. He's like, "What is that?" It's a hand. She goes, "It's a hand warmer." She takes it, shoves it down his pants. To me, that's funny. All right, that's funny. Where it's not funny, where it goes too over the top, is when it starts to burn him, and it gets stuck in his T word that means between your sack and your hole. I'm trying to be very vague with those words. Your sack and your hole. The area between that, he says to get stuck there, and he flips out, and for some reason doesn't unzip his pants, but he just keeps unzipping everything else, his jacket, and moving around and trying to dig in. And I'm sitting there going, dude, unzip your fucking pants. What? If I had something burning in my crotch, you think my pants would be the first thing I'd go for, not jacket or anything. I don't know. And actually, there's 3 jokes. The other one is another one that would have been funny if they had stopped at a certain point. So, like I said, if they had stopped and him just put it down his pants, that would be funny. But they keep going. At the end of the film, when Zack goes back to talk to Miri, he finds that Lester is there, and Lester starts talking about the rudder, where you have to, like, you put your hand on yourself, on your junk, and then someone grabs your hand and does it, for you. And it's fine him explaining it, but he just keeps going with it. Like, oh, there's a rudder, there's a third rudder, whatever you call, you do it. Or we could do double rudder, where I put my hand in my thing, and you go on your thing, and then I grab it, and I'm like, okay, you stop. You don't need to explain any more than just the one little thing. It goes a little too far. It does. The other joke in this that doesn't really work for me, it goes overboard, I guess I could say, is the gay joke. It's more of a stereotype, actually, and we find out that Brandon St. Randy, that's his name. We find out that the guy, Bobby Long, that Miri liked, had a crush on in high school, is now gay, which I find it to be really very realistic, because that could actually happen. Like, oh, you had a crush on someone in high school, guess what? I'm going to try to get with him. He's not married. I'm going to try to get with him or her, and say, oh, they're gay or they're lesbian now, and it's like the episode of Clerks, the animated series, where they go to the reunion, and every one of the girls that Randall had dated is now a lesbian. That's funny. You know, and it's funny. Oh, the guy she's trying to get, he's gay, but they drill it in too much with the innuendo and the, you know, oh, you guys suck each other's, you know what's, and it's like, okay, we get it. And they have Brandon St. Randy be the most flamboyant Jack from Will and Grace character and just throw out, you know, well, I like to go down on, and it's just like, my name is Brandon St. Randy, and I'm not doing it, you know, and I like to and it's just like, okay, we get it. It's a little too Will and Grace for my liking, but, you know, I like Will and Grace, but the representation of gay people on TV, especially at that time when Will and Grace came out, wasn't the best, and they had two different ones. When it comes to Will, he was fine. He wasn't as flamboyant. There are flamboyant homosexuals out there. I understand that. But I just feel like when it comes to film and TV, they go too much. Jack on Will and Grace was an example of that. He was way too much. Especially for the 90s when that thing was kind of taboo. He was all out there, and I feel like that wouldn't be a thing. But who knows? At this point, 2008 was getting there. But I don't know. I also find it very weird. This is one of the only Seth Rogen movies where he's not talking about or smoking weed. There's no mention, there's alcohol, but there's no mention of that at all, I don't think. Although there is one picture where it's like, oh, hey, that was me. And he's like, so he looks like maybe he was a stoner, but they don't. It's kind of weird, especially with Kevin Smith, where most of his films, there's weed jokes thrown in, you know? It's weird. And here's another thing why it's kind of weird it takes place in the Views universe, and why it kind of is acceptable, I guess. It takes place in Pennsylvania, Monroeville, Pennsylvania, Monroeville, suburb of Philadelphia, or something like that, I don't know. But, yeah, so maybe it's adjacent. That's why you could have characters like these, and then Brandon St. Randy shows up in Jane Silent Bob Reboot. I don't know, but it's just, it's different. So yeah, they decide they're gonna make their movie, and so they get actors. They get this one guy who I've seen in like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark back in the day, which is really weird to see him in this kind of role. And then you have Jason Mewes, like I said, and Jeff Anderson is the director, not the director, but the cinematographer, the DP, the director of photography, I guess. And Craig Robinson's Delaney, he's the producer. All because he wants to be able to see some free titties, I guess. I don't know. But, and there's this one character named Bubbles, and I can't go into great detail of why they call her Bubbles. Let's just say she can blow bubbles with something that has lips that's not her mouth. We'll just leave it at that. But I do like that scene because she goes to do it, right? And then blows a bubble, and then Kirk Robinson's in the middle of it too. He's like, her name Bubbles. I'm like, just how he does it. Her name Bubbles. That was funny. That was funny. Let's talk about Craig Robinson's character, because he always talks about, oh, I have a wife, I love my wife. And then at the end, towards the end of the film, we get to see his wife, and it's the most stereotypical black woman portrayal you could ever see on TV, where it's just, she's constantly yelling at him, and why is this white boy running through my house? And it's just like, really, Kevin? I mean, you had Tisha Campbell, who's great in stuff like My Wife and Kids, but here she's stereotypical black woman wife. You really couldn't have either of them kind of help you write the character, especially since he's defending himself. I'm married, man. I ain't gonna do that. But if that's what you're married to, why aren't you? I'm just saying. I would never cheat on a wife. I'm not married, but if I was married, I would never cheat on my wife. I'm just saying. Never cheated on any of my girlfriends. They cheated on me, and it's sad. Shed a tear for me, please. Uh, yeah, and then we have Katie Morgan, adult film star Katie Morgan, as a character. I don't remember her name. Is it important that we remember her name? I don't know, but she's in this. So, they're going to shoot the film, but they have this studio they bought from Tom Savini. Yeah, Tom Savini has a small role in this film. How Kevin Smith got Tom Savini to be in this, I don't know. They're going to shoot Star Wars, but then their studio was torn down and all the stuff they bought is in there, which he's like, oh, you can sift through the rubble after we get done destroying it. No, that's not how it works. You have to give notice that you're going to do this. You can't just do it out of the blue. And two, they say they have stuff in there. You have to say, okay, hold on. Let them get their stuff out. They have to let you. It's your stuff. Especially since they kind of say, oh yeah, you got screwed out. This guy, he sold it to you or whatever, rented it to you. Then he ran off to California. She's like, well, can you let us get our stuff at least? Why you can stop for like 10 minutes for them to get all their stuff. I'm just saying. But no, you can sift through the rubble when it's done. So they decide they're going to do the porno, or the adult film. Sorry, I'm trying to stray from saying that. Do the adult film in the coffee shop where Zack and Delaney work. And that's another thing. That's very Clerks-esque. Clerks-esque is that two guys working in a place that they, hate working at, but they got to do it to make the money, right? Very Clerks. And he finds a camera hidden, the handheld camera, camcorder thing they're going to use to shoot the film. And I find the way they're shooting it, like, the boom mic is in the shot. I understand it's supposed to be independent stuff. You could crop it out later, but yeah. So the whole thing when they first set this up was that there was going to be a scene between Zack and Miri, and they were nervous about it, and they got other actors in there, but they're still going to do their scene. And you know where this is going to go, because it's that kind of movie. You know where it's going to go. It's one of those things, especially when they say the line, we're just going to go in there, we're going to do it, and it'll be fine. We're not, no feelings for each other or anything. We've been friends for a long time. That's it. We're just friends. We're always just going to be just friends. And I'm just like, yeah, I know where this is going. And yeah, they have their scene, which is the most, according to them, boring scene. It's a romantic kind of scene that just happens. And it's boring because it's not adult film-like. And, this is another joke I didn't care for. Where they're shooting the first scene with Katie Morgan and Jay Muse. They're doing it on the counter and stuff. Tyler Bean just sort of shows up as a drunk guy. And, like, I got some coffee for the road. I was at the game, man. Steelers game. Roethlisberger, yeah. Fuck ball. Whatever. Then he leaves and I'm like, then he shuts the door and he locks it. I'm like, why the fuck didn't you lock it before? Why would you start shooting a movie like this and not lock the door? It just doesn't make any sense. It comes out of nowhere. It's like a Big Let Die Together moment. But it just comes out of nowhere and it makes no sense because it doesn't happen again for the rest of the film. You never see him again. It's never referenced again. Big Let Die Together moment. You know what I mean? No. So from here it gets very predictable. After the whole scene, they have feeling for each other, but they don't want to admit it. So they get angry. She's about to have her scene with Lester, and then he walks off. And 3 weeks later, so during their scene, Seth Rogen has shaved off his beard. And he looked weird without a beard. I'll say that. But I feel like they filmed this and the post-credit thing at the same time, and it was probably after production shut. Because 3 weeks later, his beard has gone back to the way it was, which I don't think it looks that way in 3 weeks. Maybe it does. I've been growing this for like a few weeks, I guess. It looks alright. Maybe it would be. But yeah, he shaves his beard off, and then it's like 3 weeks later, and he gets called by Delaney to the house. We get the wife thing, and then Jeff Anderson's down there, and they show him the film, and he's like, "There's no ending." Delaney's like, "There's no ending." He's like, "What do you mean?" What about Miri and Lester? Though they didn't do the scene. She couldn't do it. And that's when he realizes that she couldn't do it because she's in love with him, and then he's in love with her. And so he somehow has the car, I guess. Which also doesn't make sense why she was driving at the beginning of the film. I guess you can share, but it drives back. And we see that Lester is there. And that's another thing, it's like, oh, but it just doesn't make sense because she wouldn't sleep with them in the movie, so why would she be doing it? Turns out, oh, he's just living there to help her pay the rent. And it's like, okay, but why give us innuendo why make us think? Like, or why make him think? Because I didn't believe it. I'm like, wait, if she wouldn't do the sex scene with him in the film, why would she be sleeping with him in real life? And they do the gag again from the beginning of the film where she's sitting on the toilet, taking a shit. It wasn't funny the first time, it's not funny here, but yeah, and they end up getting together, and then, yeah, end the movie. And then we get the post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene as it actually is, where it's Zack and Miri make you a adult film, I'm going to say, company, and they're married apparently, and they have each other's names, like, or it's not hyphenated, but they have both names, like, it's Zack Leaky Brown, or Linky Brown, and Miri Linky Brown, I don't know. But, yeah, this was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I'd say it's pretty good. And with that, I've come to the conclusion. We have come to the end of this review series. And, man, I want to do this again down the road, but with Tubi. I want to type in a letter on Tubi and just see what movies they have and pick one and do it like that. But that'll be way down the line because I want to focus on other franchises. Yes. So when it comes to the ranking, I don't know if I want to sit here. So I have two not worth your times. Okay, so let me suss it out right here for you. So I don't have to do a separate video. Bottom is probably I Know Who Killed Me, followed by The Mummy 2017. I would say then it would be JCVD, then Derailed, Van Helsing, The Quest. I'm going through the rest are pretty good, I think. The Yoga Hosers, then Quest. Old School. No, Yoga Hosers, Old School, then Quest. And then we get to the pretty goods, so we have to go through those. We'll say Weekend at Bernie's, Eight-Legged Freaks, Zack and Miri, Annihilation, Push, G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, Charlie Bartlett, Ready Player One, X-Files: Fight the Future, Hot Tub Time Machine, Knives Out, The Lookout. Oh, no One Lives. That should be between Derailed and whatever, it's in there. Upgrade. Big Trouble in Little China. Where are we at? 3 left, right? I think I'm just looking through. Yeah, I think so. So we have the top 3. Flight Night. Followed by number 2, Training Day, which was almost perfect. It wasn't for that one part. And of course, Scream is the only one that I gave it to the moon. So that's kind of just a, to put it in perspective, what I would do. I don't want to. I kind of do though. Maybe I will do a separate video, but that's just kind of the gist. Because I messed up and didn't have. Maybe I'll just do a ranking. But so, what are your thoughts on Zack and Miri? Comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.